Hi, I'm Phil Drashfield. You already knew that though, and this is Cost Control. This is a video lecture on chapters 5 and 6. Okay, chapter 5 is entitled Controlling Food Cost in Purchasing, and chapter 6 is Controlling Food Cost in Receiving, Storing, and Issuing. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to simplify matters. We're going to do both chapters 5 and 6 together, and look how amazingly simple I've created this. I'm calling chapter 5 Purchasing and chapter 6 Receiving. All right. Now, this is very important when it comes to controlling costs in food service operations. Some of you may or may not know I've actually worked both sides of the sales equation. Over the years, I've had my own bakery cafes, and I've also worked for companies like Sysco, where I was a sales rep and worked for commissions selling to other restaurant owners and operators. So I sort of understand the sales aspect of food. I understand how food is transported. And I also understand how in a food service operation in a kitchen, unless you're totally organized, your purchasing and receiving departments can make or break you when it comes to profit and loss. So let's go and look at some of the very basics of purchasing. I've got it basically designed into 3 easy steps. None of them are easy, just saying. All right, first, you need to designate a buyer. One person does the buying. Okay, why is that? Well, one person needs to have the responsibility to order all the food. One person needs to know who the food was ordered from, where the food is coming from, when it's coming in, how much is coming in, and that one person assumes all responsibility for purchasing. Second thing is identify what's needed. Okay, for an operation that sells tacos, you probably need tortilla shells. If you're selling cheeseburgers, you may not need tortilla shells. Okay? Identify what's needed. You can do that through the use of product specifications, through part levels, and order guides. And we'll touch on those in a little bit. Don't freak out. If you've done any other culinary work, you understand that product specifications come when you work with standardized recipes. Anyway, we'll come back to standardized recipes and product specs here in just a sec. Third thing you have to do is you have to secure the correct vendors. Okay? Maybe a Sysco is right for you, or US Foods. Okay? Currently here at Brightwater, we use Unipro, Tangersley. You have to understand what's out there, what the competitive market is, and you also have to make sure you feel comfortable with your vendor, okay? A lot of vendors have their sales reps, they work on commission, okay? That means for everything they sell you, they get a small piece, okay? Sometimes that commission is controllable, sometimes it's not. You as the buyer need to understand who you're buying the food from and what the overall sales model is. Is your salesman getting commission on your sales? Yes, no, very simple question, and don't be afraid to ask that. Okay? You also, when you're securing the proper vendors, you want to make sure that you understand value-added services. Like what? Okay, well, let's see. Here's a very simple example of a value-added service. If you've decided that you can get all the food you want from Sam's Club, then you're going to go to physically pick it up from Sam's Club and bring it back in your car, your truck, your van, and put it into your own kitchen. Okay? You work with a company like US Foods, or with Sysco, or with Unipro, and one of the value-added services that they offer is delivery. That's not necessarily free, It's delivery. I've mentioned value-added services because that's exactly what it is. It's an added value, and a value comes with a cost. So if you have a product that's being delivered, it's going to cost you. So depending on how much customer service you want will also depend on how much you pay for your food. All right. So we've identified the 3 steps: designate a buyer, identify what's needed, and secure the correct vendors. Okay? When you look at the overall methods of purchasing, it basically breaks down into 3 different types. One is called competitive bidding, one is cost plus, and one is commissary. Competitive bidding goes like this. I operate a hamburger joint, okay? I go through 200 pounds of ground beef every 3 days. Do the math. How much ground beef is that a week? If I do 300 pounds of ground beef every 3 days, or did I say 200? 200 every 3 days. There's 3, 6 if I'm open 7 days a week. Let's say I'm only open 6 days a week. Every 3 days I go through 400 pounds of beef every 6 days. Okay? So, competitive bidding goes like this. I want to know who's got the best price on ground beef. Okay. So I call up Sysco. Sysco says $1.88 a pound. I call up US Foods. They go $2.25. I call up Tankersley at Unipro and they say, what are the specifications on the beef you're requesting? Interesting. Product specifications. I'm looking for ground beef. What does that mean? Well, a product specification will lay out the product name, the intended use for the product, the grade or the brand of that product, the size, the weight, the product form, and the packaging. Hamburgers. Do they come in fresh or do they come in frozen? Am I getting choice? Am I getting select? Am I getting prime? Am I getting hamburgers that are pre-formed or am I getting bulk ground beef? All laid out in product specifications. Okay? So, when you're doing your competitive bidding, make sure you understand what your specific product you're looking for. Compare apples to apples. All right? Cost plus works in a program where I'll say, all right, Sysco, I'll give you the position of prime vendor. I promise I'll buy 80% of all the product I need from you. And in return, you're going to give me the best price because you're going to give me everything at cost plus a small percentage. And that small percentage might be an upcharge of 3 to 7%. Cost plus. Then there's commissary style where we buy in bulk and we supply to all our multi-units ourselves, okay? Now, here's what it boils down to on competitive bidding. Most restaurateurs that you'll be involved with utilize a competitive bidding program or a cost plus program for an individual unit. And that's because it's very important that you select the right vendor. You have to be able to trust your vendor. You have to be able to trust your salesperson, okay? Because it all involves ethics, okay? You need to understand things like, can I receive gifts from my vendor? Sysco will be more than happy to send the person who is doing the buying, send them to food shows, give them some incentives to buy more product. You know, it really gets, it gets onto a gray area ethically when it comes to dealing with vendors, but we'll save that discussion for another day, okay? So that pretty much covers most of purchasing that you've got covered in Chapter 5. I want to go look at Chapter 6 very quickly, and that's receiving, all right? You know, it's really basic how to save money when you receive, okay? First of all, you establish a delivery schedule. Oh, look, okay? Oh, we forgot to talk about par levels, too. Par levels is the amount of stock necessary to get the kitchen through until the next order, okay? And par levels are based on historical data and delivery schedules. Now, when you come down to receiving, we first start by establishing a delivery schedule. If I know Sysco is going to deliver every Tuesday and Thursday, then I order my food accordingly. Okay? Next thing you do when you order your, when you have your receiving set up is you have a very specific receiving area. So you make sure that the truck unloads items in a very specific receiving area. When you do, it's necessary to check the quantity and the quality against the product specifications that we talked about here. Okay? I'm ordering 200 pounds of ground beef. How did it come in? Well, it came in bulk and frozen in 5-pound chubs. Well, that's not what I want. What's a chub, by the way? Frozen 5-pound chubs, I can't use that. I ordered fresh patties, not the right product. So it's important, always check the quality and the quantity against the product specifications. When you have an invoice in front of you, check the math. They're not necessarily all added up correctly. Check the weights of the product on the invoice. Okay? That nobody's going to try and intentionally short you, but you want to make sure you got the right case. If you ordered a case of 109 primal cuts of beef and the case said it weighs 57 pounds and you're paying $10 a pound for it, you better make sure there's 57 pounds of beef in there. Just saying. All right. Also, if there's something that's spoiled, if there's something that's missing, right there on the spot, obtain a credit memo for whatever's missing or whatever's spoiled. Okay. Lastly, put the food away. Okay. And file the paperwork, of course, to accounting. But put the food away. And most restaurants use FIFO in their stock rotation. Okay. FIFO is first in, first out. So when you're receiving your food, when you're putting food away in the refrigerators, in the freezers, you need to constantly rotate your stock. You need to understand that the stuff spoils if it's left in the back of the refrigerator and nobody ever uses it for 2 months. So, what are ways to save money in receiving? Well, you've got to reduce theft and you have to reduce spoilage. Okay? Spoilage is a result of time temperature abuse, poor sanitation practices, or improper rotation of stock. Okay? If the person who's putting away your food does not understand first in, first out in stock rotation, you're going to lose food through spoilage. And because everybody eats and everybody gets tempted, you're also going to lose food through theft. And that's sad. Okay? So you need to have a proper system set up for purchasing and receiving. You keep track of your inventory, you rotate your stock, and you train your staff about ethics. What belongs to the restaurant is the restaurant's, and just because it looks like the same type of food you have at your house or the same type of alcohol that you drink, that doesn't mean it's yours. Okay? Control theft. Control spoilage. Choose your vendors correctly. And watch out for the next quiz that'll cover chapters 5 and 6. We're also going to go back and we're going to look at chapter 4 as well, because part of the quiz I want to make sure you all understand food costing and food pricing. All right? Menu pricing, food costing, remember that? Culinary math. This isn't so much culinary math. Just read the chapters. I'll have the quiz up later, and you'll have as long as you want to take the quiz. All right? Have a good time. We'll see you next time.